Hello YouTube, welcome back to the second part of my Airbus first impressions. Now we're about 100 miles away from top of descent, so it seemed like a good opportunity to run through the cockpit here and take a look at some of the features of this Airbus, talk about my experiences with it so far before we set up for the actual landing. It's a pretty clinical cockpit. I think I mentioned that in the first video. It doesn't, in my opinion, have the character of say a 737, but having said that, I think everybody agrees right now that the Aerosoft Airbus Extended X or X or whatever you want to call it is currently the best rendition of an Airbus out there in terms of its cockpit detail. Most of the stuff in here works. Most of it. There's some things that don't. The things that don't are just things that really wouldn't make sense from a simulated environment. But by and large, everything works. Tons of detail. If you've never seen an Airbus before, one thing that's going to strike you as odd, it's actually pretty cool, is it has a dark cockpit concept.
Speedbird
hang on a sec.
718, descend, flight level 350.
Oh, great.
Descend, flight level 350, Speedbird 718.
Descent preparation checklist. Initiate descent.
FMA check, seatbelt.
So they're going to want me to
Radar
set up
is
for
on.
landing. Hang on, let me just check the weather here.
R off.
Speedbird 718,
Receive.
contact Paris Control 135,
Standard.
decimal
Landing
55.
elevation.
Paris Control on 135, decimal 55.
Let me just go set up the QNH at the
Paris
landing
Control,
airport here.
Speedbird 718, leaving flight level 3614, flight level 350.
Speedbird 718, Paris Control. Roger,
Set.
descent, flight level
Decision height.
270.
Oops, that went wrong.
Descend, flight level 270, Speedbird 718.
Right, decision height is at Zurich. Sorry, I wasn't expecting to descend right now. As is always the way. Decision height is 1616. We're going to set that up.
Decision height.
Set.
Checklist complete.
And the transition altitude here is 7,000 feet, so we'll put that in as well. Sorry, where was I? Oh yes, in a 737 or any Boeing aircraft incidentally, you get lights indicating the status of things, whereas in a dark cockpit aircraft like this, you only tend to have a light if something is very, very important, like probe window heat is on, or there's an error condition. So if there are any white lights up here, then I would notice something needs to be fixed straight away. There are no white lights, so I can quickly at a glance see that everything in this cockpit right now is good and ready to go. So that's kind of a novel twist. If you're expecting a lot of glowy Christmas lights, you're not going to get them in an Airbus. Now, I was kind of expecting runway 16 when we land, when I took off. That's not the case. Just
Contact
saying.
Rams Control 128, decimal 3. We'll see you later.
Rams Control on 128, decimal 3. Rams Control, Speedbird 718 is with you, leaving flight level 3244, flight level 270.
Speedbird 718, Rams Control, roger.
I was expecting runway 16 based on the weather when we took off. The winds have actually shifted, and I'm actually now expecting runway 34. I'm not going to do a full star approach. I'm actually going to let radar contact vector me around so you can see how this works all in selected mode instead of managed.
718, contact Rams Control 130, decimal 9er.
130 decimal 9er.
Rams Control on 130, decimal 9er. Rams Control, Speedbird 718 is with you, leaving flight level 3134, flight level 270.
Speedbird 718, Reams Control, roger.
Now, another issue I had with this is when I set up my flight plan, my nav data that I have on my second computer with the AFB is out of date. I didn't realize it's about 2 cycles out of date. So the airways that I was getting did not match what I have in the FMC.
718, descend,
Oh my God.
flight level 240.
Flight level 240.
Descend, flight level 240, Speedbird 718.
So I ended up just putting in a bunch of waypoints without the airways, which put me a little bit off course according to radar contact, so he bitched me out a little bit. So bear that in mind. Make sure that when you're planning your flights that you're using the correct nav data for your planner as well as for the aircraft. One thing I really do like about the Airbus so far though is this. The way it manages its speed and descent, rate of descent, is phenomenal. The 737 is a real slippery son of a what's name, in that you'll start descending and the speed will just get away from you before you know it, you're overspeeding or approaching overspeed, finding it very hard to manage anything. That's not the case with this Airbus. Now, I haven't flown Airbuses before, so I don't know whether that's just an Airbus in general thing, but on this particular Airbus, I like it very much. I can just dial in an altitude, dial in a speed, and the aircraft will hit it pretty damn quick, which is again why I'm not too worried about radar contact vectoring me around for the approach. Let's see where we're at on these checklists down here. Next page.
Speedbird 718 contact. Reams control 134.8.
Rams control on 134.8. Rams control, Speedbird 718, leaving flight level 270 or flight level 240.
Speedbird 718, Rams control. Roger. When ready, descend. Flight level 190.
Alright.
When ready, descend, flight level 190, Speedbird 718.
Now, I think we did the descent preparation checklist, but we haven't actually done descent, so let's fire that up. I could be wrong. Kind of wasn't paying attention. Yeah, I think it's already done that. So we'll let that go. This is a novel thing over here as well. Let me just change my views around a little bit here. All the displays down here and the way they're accessed. This is actually pretty cool. I can very quickly get to anything that I want to get to. So if I want to see how the APU, well, APU wouldn't make sense. I want to see how the pressurization is working. I can just click that and it will show me all the electrical systems or hydraulic systems or fuel. Very important. Pretty good on fuel right now. Very, very simple. Everything in the Airbus is actually designed to be really, really quite simple. So I'm pretty happy with happy with all of that. So we're in our descent. I think we run the checklist. As I said, my bad, I wasn't paying attention. Oh, no we're not. We need to go and check our landing data. Let's go look over here. So, flaps 155, slats at 198, via approach is 151. Good to know. And we're expecting ILS runway 34. Let me go ahead and set up the ILS for this, assuming that we actually do get it. Now, the localizer is on 110.75. The way we do that is we go over here and we say it's already in there, 110.75, 110.75, and we put in a course. Oh, not yet. Put that up there. And a course, well, the course to land is actually 334. We're going to put that in. That might change if radar contact changes and doesn't meet my expectations. Now, whoops, I don't know what I just pressed. Okay, we're all good. Pressed the wrong key. The other thing we're going to have is once we get under 10,000 feet, we're going to hit this button, which turns on the landing systems, localizer systems, whatever LS stands for, which puts my glide slope here and the localizer down here. Normally they're not on unless you explicitly turn on that button, which is very, very strange. I'm very surprised that we're descending already. We still have quite a way to go. Let me just look at my EFB very quickly. Well, I guess we're only 100 miles away, so I guess now would be the right time. Whilst this is descending, let's just pop outside and let me show you what this looks like from the outside. Pretty good looking aircraft. It really is a pretty good looking aircraft. It's not really my cup of tea. I know a lot of you love the Airbus, and it tends to be a love Airbus or love Boeing thing. I'm more of a Boeing fan. But I can see why people really, really enjoy this aircraft. Now I'm hoping to actually do a manual landing. We'll see what the conditions are like when we get there. I'm going to let the autopilot establish us on the localizer, hopefully on the glide slope, which is a fairly standard practice, and then turn it off and turn off auto throttle at that point. Now they're expecting me to go to LOL next, or Natalie. Where am I going? Good. Right, I just want to make sure this matches up with this. This is radar contact. This obviously is the MCDU or FMGC. FMGC. That's its proper name. I didn't know its proper name in the first video. Now I do. You'll see it's a very smooth autopilot as well. It's actually quite frisky compared to a Boeing. It turns very, very quickly. Now, hopefully my frame rates stay up. I'm looking at them right now and they look a little bit scary.
Speedbird 718, contact Rames control 128.3. Have a good flight.
128.3.
Rams control on 128.3.
Oh,
Rams
that's why.
control,
I turned off auto
Speedbird
throttle.
718 is with you at flight level 190.
Speedbird 718, Rams control. Roger.
That's what that ding noise was. I turned off the auto throttle. Duh. But you see how quickly it dropped the speed. You know, I was dropping altitude there to 19,000 and dropping the speed. Not a problem. That would have been a bit of a hassle to manage in the 737. I've been deploying speed brakes and everything. So there's Zurich right there. It's saying just about 80 miles away. Should see it pop up here now. You can just about see it running in. Now I got a bit of a confession. This is actually the second time I've done this. I did record this all the way through from takeoff to landing. Part 1 that you saw was part 1 of that. I ended up landing about 3 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't very happy with the way the video turned out. I missed telling you guys a lot of stuff. I sounded like I was on drugs, so I decided to do it again. So if anybody notices detail, which sometimes you guys do, like, oh, the clocks are out of sync, Froogle, now you know why. I tried to get it the same. I use Active Sky for the weather, and Active Sky does have a historic weather setting, which is actually very cool. It does let me do things like rerun a flight I did a few days ago with exactly the same weather. I just had a bit of a hassle setting the time and getting the same takeoff time and everything else. Looks icy out there, doesn't it? Very cold. Let me check the weather in Active Sky and tell you guys what we're expecting here. Expecting wind from 280 at 2 knots, which is pretty good. Visibility is 10 statute miles. Clouds are broken. Moderate snow. Moderate snow. Oops. Oh dear. Dew point, actually pressure just changed. It's 1004 now. It was 1003. So clouds view at 5,000, broken at 7,500. Temperature is 4 degrees Celsius. So we are going to have to turn on anti-ice as we go through these clouds. Since a few thousand feet up, going through wet clouds does tend to lead to ice. And this Airbus is very, very good at telling you that it's icing up. I don't think I've ever seen an icing condition on the NGX. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Let's put this back on engine over here. Now the flight controls are kind of unique. I'm not sure if I called this out in the first video, but you have a side stick on the wrong side. Whoops. That would be British Airways telling me to report in on 12655. Let me go ahead and do that. There's 55. There's 126. Off we go. Done. So yeah, you have a side stick, not a yoke. The front in front of the pilot is actually for a sliding table. You know, where you can play Angry Birds or Walking Dead on your iPad, which is kind of neat. So you have a side stick. For the pilot, it's on the wrong side, it's on the left. For the co-pilot, it's on the correct side, which is on the right. And my throttles here are on the right.
Speedbird 718,
hang on a second.
descend. Flight level 120. Start down now, please. I need you level in 30 miles or less.
120.
Maintain flight level 120. Speedbird 718.
Now it is actually important that if you do get this aircraft, don't fly it with a yoke. It really is expecting you to have a stick, and that stick is all fly-by-wire. You're not actually controlling control surfaces. You're feeding messages to the computer on the Airbus, which is then feeding messages to the control surfaces. So you do tend to have somewhat exaggerated deflection of this, particularly at low speeds. Doing that with a yoke gets to be a real pain in the butt very, very quickly. So get a good stick. A light stick if you can. I'm using a Thrustmaster TM16000 as my stick. Has very little resistance, it's very easy to move, and it's perfect for flying this. I'm also using Thrustmaster Warthog for the throttle, which is similar in feel, I guess, to these, completely different in look. And yes, I do have them the wrong way round, just to make my life hard. So if we do end up doing a manual land, it's going to be interesting because I'll be flying with the wrong hand and doing everything back to front. I have manually landed, I keep saying auto land, I have manually landed this twice now, I think. The first time was a hideous wreck. Not a wreck, but I did come down pretty hard. The second time wasn't too bad. So if we go manual land on this, fingers crossed. Still waiting to find out the runway. We'll find that once we get handed off from these guys to approach, which should be very soon. Hopefully it's runway 34. Just in terms of setting up the radios, which I already did. Not a problem if not. Okay, so we're coming up on these clouds. Once we get a little bit closer, I'm going to turn the anti-ices on. Love all these displays down here, tons of detail. Somebody asked me in the comments how this is on frame rates. Very, very good. Compared to an NGX, very, very good. Wow, outside air temperature is minus 11. I get pretty much the frame rate I want, so if I'm locked at 30, I get that. To record this video, I have it unlocked to give me way above 30 so I can hit 25 to 30 on the recording, and it looks fairly smooth for you guys. But by and large, pretty good. If your computer can handle the NGX, you have no problem with this. I don't know what other frame of reference really to give you guys. Now incidentally, in that first video there was a checklist item called Accu Brake or Aqua Brake, and I didn't know what it was. It's actually up here. Having trouble flying my camera. This button right here, when she says if you're doing this yourself, Accu Brake Pressure or Aqua Brake Pressure, turn that on and that will satisfy that checklist item. Oh my god, that's cloudy. Not entirely sure why the checklist didn't advance. We are beyond descent at this point. Alright, there's wet stuff hitting the aircraft now, so... Coming up on 13,500 feet. He wanted us at 12,000 within 30 miles. I think we've done it in 20. That's how good this aircraft is at managing descent. Still got 7,500 kilograms of fuel on board, which is great. Enough fuel for our alternate, which I think is LFSB, Lima Foxtrot Sierra Bravo. Can't speak tonight. Let's pop outside. There she is, bouncing along. It really is a good model. Aerosoft just actually released a patch for this. This is the 1.04 version, and it has the extra sound pack. So it's supposed to sound a bit more realistic. I actually have my engine sounds turned a little bit down, I think. I'm not going to mess with that right now, but it sounds good. I mean, for a tube liner, what do you expect? It's not the music that you get out of a Mustang or from a Spitfire's Merlin engines, but it's not bad. It does the job. Let's get back in that cockpit before things start breaking. Ugh.
Approach checklist.
There we go.
Ecam status.
Checked.
Riding tables.
Stowed.
Stowed. Cabin signs.
Checked.
Map accuracy.
Checked.
Barrel reference.
Standard.
Checklist complete.
We're all good.
Speedbird 718, fly heading 155.
Heading 155, Speedbird 718.
– 16 miles away from Zurich now, not very far. A little bit higher than I thought we would be.
Speedbird 718, reduce speed not to exceed 230 knots.
230.
230 knots, Speedbird 718.
So let's bring this down to 210. There we go. Notice the speed is now in blue.
Flaps 1.
Bullshit. Flaps 1 at 240? Are you kidding me? No. I'm going to put flaps down right about there, I think. See what I was saying about not
Flaps
being
1.
happy with the schedule? If I put them down now, it's going to be too high. See? Too high. There you go, ladies and gentlemen, a bug. Froogle was right. Aerosoft Airbus was wrong. Now what did we have down here on the V approach speed again? .151, okay. The weather, as I said, is provided by Active Sky 2012 running on a second computer. The textures are Rex Essential. And aren't they good looking? Although my frame rate just went through the floor. Flying through big ass 4000 resolution puffy clouds is no good for your frame rates in general. I'm down to 17 frames now. I'm sure that'll pick up as we get closer to the ground.
Speedbird 718, descend 2, altitude 7,000 feet, UNH 1004. Speedbird 718, approach 13 miles from the marker, fly heading 005, maintain 5,500 feet until established on the localizer, cleared ILS, runway 34, approach.
Fly heading 005, maintain 5,500 feet, cleared ILS, runway 34, approach, Speedbird 718.
There we go.
Flaps 2. Flaps 3.
Flaps full.
No.
Flaps full.
Ugh.
Flaps full.
I have to read the documents on that and have to look at the proper schedule for descending and extending the flaps. Not happy with that. Here comes the localizer. Localizer alive. So it's capture. Glide slope's not alive.
Flight attendants, please prepare for landing.
There's glide slope.
Alive.
Glide slope alive. Okay. Let's capture and establish. Gear down.
Gear down.
Okay, so with everything hung out now with the flaps and the gear, let the aircraft establish itself on the glide slope. This is a fairly common practice, including in the 737. Let it establish itself, set the engine power to maintain the correct rate of descent, get on the glide slope. If you want to manually land, that would be the easiest way of doing it. Obviously, the hardest way would be to fly the entire approach manually. I'm not that familiar with this aircraft, or not familiar enough to be able to do that at this point. So we're about to intercept the glide slope. So let's drop our speed down now. We'll put it at 155. Glide slope captured. Now I think that's a runway up here. I'm not convinced yet, so I'm not turning autopilot off. See how it's adjusting the engines here to try to get us stabilized on that glide slope? It's exactly what you want before you take control. And you can see where the throttles need to be. Yep, runway in sight. I almost don't want to turn off the autopilot at this point in case I screw up, but we will. We will. Here we go. So auto throttle off. Autopilot off. I have control. Oh, auto throttle is not off. Now it is. Now you're adjusting your rate of descent with the throttles, not with the yoke, so I'm a little bit too low right now, so more power. Gentle adjustments to the throttles there to bring the power back up. We're starting to get back on the glide slope now. There we go. Start reducing the power at this point. Where are the wipers on this? Oh well. Alright, so a little bit too high now, so less throttle.
Landing.
I'm not actually having to adjust the stick at all because the aircraft was already trimmed correctly. I could do with going a little bit to the right actually.
Contact tower 118.1.
Tower on 118.1. Tower Speedbird 7185 mile final runway 34.
Speedbird 718 tower runway 34 winds calm.
Landing checklist.
Landing gear.
Roger, Speedbird
Down and locked.
718.
3 green.
Ground spoilers.
Checked and armed.
Auto brakes.
Max.
Exterior lights.
Ah,
Set.
Exterior lights. Go around altitude.
Speedbird 718 runway 34 clear to land.
Go around
now she's going to bitch at me for not setting to go around altitude, and I really can't deal with that right now. Let's see if we can turn her on. No, I can't.
Go around altitude.
Alright, she's going to complain all the way down, I'm afraid. Sorry, guys.
Go around altitude.
I'm a little bit too busy right now to go heads down and set that up. I should have done that
Go
earlier.
around altitude.
A little less throttle.
Speedbird 718 runway 34 clear to land.
Clear to land. Speedbird 718.
Go around altitude.
Minimum.
Go around altitude.
I wish she'd shut up.
Go
A
around
bit too
altitude.
low.
Go around altitude. Go around altitude.
400.
Go around altitude.
200.
Go around altitude.
100.
Go around altitude.
50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. Retard.
Oh, a little bit bumpy.
Ground spoilers.
And we're down, so reverse is up.
Go around altitude.
Oh my god, woman, shut up.
Memo. 70 knots.
Alright, and we're down. A little bit of a hard landing. Wasn't
Speedbird
crazy.
718 turn off at the next high speed and hold. Contact ground.
Taxi to the ramp. Roger, Speedbird 718.
Alright, turn checklist off. I got lost there. I'm sure you guys are going to tell me in the comments exactly what I did wrong. What I just did, by the way, was pop open GSX. I've asked GSX to give me a follow me vehicle. I want to show you that little feature. But they will send a truck out, which I get to follow all the way into parking. And then I'll get parking help as well. Here comes the truck. See him? He's right about there. Let's get rid of radar contact. How cool is that? So he's going to lead me now all the way to gate A, which is what I selected. And when I get there, somebody will actually guide me to park as well, which is very awesome. I don't know if you can read that. It actually says follow me on the back of his truck. Then he'll use his lights to indicate where to turn and all sorts of stuff like that. He normally runs about 18 knots ground speed. I just think that's the coolest thing. That and all the stuff you saw when we were at Heathrow, getting the aircraft boarded and everything else. Very cool. I've still got quite a lot to learn, as you've seen with this Airbus. It really is a first impression set of videos, and those of you who've been with this channel for quite some time know first impressions are just that. I tend to spend a few hours looking at the aircraft, reading the docs, but I'm not an expert. That comes later. And judging from the feedback you guys have been giving me, you want to see more of the Airbus, so there probably will be a later. It is a bit fun to fly. It's not really my cup of tea. I really do, in terms of tube liners, prefer the 737. But it is fun. There is a lot of new things to learn, new ways of doing stuff. And it's pretty good. I mean, it's not a big hit on the frame rates. Performs pretty well. It's still got some bugs and some quirks. It's got some neat features as well. Like, whoops, he's turning. Down there, that little printer, you can use that to print off a load and balance sheet. Actually, to your printer. Where's the guy that's supposed to be guiding me in? I don't see him. Normally there's a dude here giving me hand signals. I guess not today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zurich. As always, my name is Froogle. Thank you for watching. Please leave me a comment in the comment section below. Tell me what you think. Don't be too rough on me. I know I don't know everything about this aircraft yet, and there's a lot for me to learn. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon.